Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. Los Angeles glittered like a fever dream under the velvet night sky, its skyline a jagged constellation of ambition and excess. At the heart of it all stood the Celestial Tower, a glass and steel monolith that screamed money. Inside, the grand ballroom was a circus of wealth, chandeliers dripping crystals, champagne flutes clinking like wind chimes, and the air thick with the scent of Dior and desperation. Tonight was the night Harper Enterprises, one of LA's top dogs, would seal a billion-dollar deal with the mysterious Aurora Group, a shadowy conglomerate that seemed to pull strings from Wall Street to Washington. In the midst of this glittering chaos, Maya Jackson pushed a janitor's cart through the crowd. Her navy blue uniform hung loose on her frame, but it couldn't hide the quiet confidence in her stride or the way her dark skin gleamed under the lights. Her braided hair was tucked neatly under a cap, and her eyes, sharp, knowing, scanned the room like a predator sizing up prey. The elite of LA barely noticed her, their gazes sliding over her like she was part of the furniture. To them, she was just another cleaner, a nobody scraping by in a city that chewed up dreamers and spat them out. But Maya was no nobody, and tonight she was about to flip their world upside down. At the center of the ballroom, Chloe Harper, Maya's adoptive sister, held court like a queen bee. Her gold sequin dress sparkled with every calculated laugh, and her blonde curls bounced as she tossed her head, basking in the attention. Beside her stood Ethan Brooks, Maya's ex-fiancé, his tailored suit screaming new money. The two of them were the picture of LA royalty, beautiful, ruthless, and utterly convinced of their own superiority. They were here to celebrate not just the deal, but their upcoming wedding, a union that would cement their status as the city's power couple. Chloe leaned into Ethan, her voice dripping with venom as she whispered, "Look at her, pushing that cart like she's still part of this family. Pathetic." She gestured toward Maya, who was wiping down a table nearby. Ethan smirked, his eyes cold. "She's nothing, Chloe. A has-been. I made the right call choosing you." Maya overheard every word, but her face didn't betray a flicker of emotion. She kept wiping the table, her movements deliberate, almost meditative. Then, as if on cue, she straightened up, caught Chloe's eye, and flashed a smile that was equal parts mischief and menace. "Congrats on the deal, you two," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "But this party's about to get a whole lot more interesting. Stay tuned." Chloe blinked, caught off guard by the confidence in Maya's tone. "What's that supposed to mean?" she snapped. But Maya was already walking away, her cart squeaking faintly as she disappeared into the crowd. Ethan frowned, a flicker of unease crossing his face. "She's bluffing," he muttered. "She's just a janitor. What's she gonna do, mop us to death?" Chloe laughed, but it was a nervous sound, like she wasn't entirely convinced. "Let's focus on the deal, Ethan. Maya's irrelevant." Across the room, the master of ceremonies took the stage, a slick man in a tuxedo with a voice like a game show host. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the event of the year," he boomed. "Tonight, Harper Enterprises and Aurora Group will sign a historic partnership that will reshape the future of tech, finance, and power in this city and beyond." The crowd erupted in applause, their faces glowing with greed and anticipation. Robert Harper, the patriarch of the Harper family, stood at the front, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. He raised a glass, his smile as polished as his Rolex. "This deal is a testament to the Harper legacy," he said, "and to my daughter, Chloe, who's proven herself worthy of carrying it forward." The crowd cheered again, but Maya, now lingering near the back, rolled her eyes. "Worthy?" she muttered under her breath. "More like scheming." As Robert droned on about innovation and synergy, Maya slipped behind a velvet curtain, her movements swift and silent. She pulled out her phone and sent a single text. "It's time. Drop the bomb." Seconds later, her phone buzzed with a reply from Jamal Carter, her best friend and resident tech wizard. "You got it, Queen. Let's make these fools eat their words." Back on stage, the ceremony was reaching its climax. Robert gestured to a massive screen behind him, where the contract between Harper Enterprises and Aurora Group was projected in crisp, glowing text. "And now," he said, "let's make history." The crowd held its breath as he raised a pen to sign. But before he could, the screen flickered, then went black. A murmur rippled through the room. Robert froze, his smile faltering. "What the—" The screen flared back to life, but instead of the contract, it displayed a single word in bold crimson letters. "Eclipse." The murmurs turned to gasps. Chloe's face paled, and Ethan's jaw tightened. "What the hell is this?" he hissed. Then, from the shadows, Maya stepped forward. She ditched her janitor's uniform, revealing a sleek black silk dress that hugged her curves like a second skin. The crowd parted as she walked toward the stage, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Every eye was on her, but she moved with the calm of someone who'd been planning this moment for years. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maya said, her voice cutting through the stunned silence like a blade. "I'm sorry to interrupt the Harper family's little victory lap, but there's been a change of plans." Robert's face twisted with fury. "Maya, what are you doing? Get off the stage!" Maya ignored him, her gaze locking onto the crowd. "You all know me as Maya Jackson, the Harper family's forgotten daughter, the girl who sweeps floors for a living. But that's only half the story." She paused, letting the tension build, then delivered the bombshell. "I'm Eclipse, the founder of Aurora Group. And this deal, it's off." The room exploded into chaos. Gasps, shouts, and the clatter of dropped champagne flutes filled the air. Chloe stumbled backward, clutching Ethan's arm. "She's lying!" she screamed. "She's a nobody! A janitor!" Ethan's eyes darted between Maya and the screen, where a montage now played. Clips of Aurora Group's global influence, stock markets bending to its will, tech breakthroughs, even whispers of political deals. At the center of it all was a shadowy figure, and now that figure had a face. Maya's. Governor Alicia Reyes, seated near the front, stood and bowed her head slightly. "Miss Jackson," she said, her voice carrying authority, "it's an honor." The crowd's shock deepened. If the governor was bowing to Maya, this wasn't a bluff. Robert's face turned ashen. This can't be true," he stammered. Maya's smile was ice cold. "Oh, it's true, Robert. You raised me to be invisible, to stay in the shadows so Chloe could shine. But I built an empire while you were busy underestimating me. And now?" She gestured to the screen, where the words "deal cancelled" flashed in bold. "Now you pay the price." Chloe lunged forward, her voice shrill. "You're a fraud! You're just jealous because Ethan chose me!" Maya turned to her, unruffled. "Jealous? Chloe, I don't want your leftovers. Ethan's all yours." She glanced at Ethan, who looked like he'd been punched in the gut. "Good luck with that." The crowd was buzzing now, phones out, cameras flashing. Maya stood tall, her presence commanding the room. "This city's been sleeping on me for too long," she said. "But tonight, LA wakes up. Eclipse is here, and I'm just getting started." As security guards hesitated, unsure whether to escort her out or bow, Maya walked off the stage, leaving the Harpers in disarray. Chloe was screaming at Robert, Ethan was staring into space, and the crowd was eating up the drama like it was a reality TV finale. 24 hours earlier, the sun was setting over East LA, painting the streets in hues of orange and pink. Bean and Hustle, a hole-in-the-wall coffee shop, was packed with locals, construction workers grabbing espressos, students hunched over laptops, and the occasional hipster snapping pics of their oat milk lattes. The air smelled of roasted beans and fresh pastries, and the hum of conversation mixed with the whir of the espresso machine. Maya, still in her janitor's uniform after a long shift, stood in line, scrolling through her phone. She was texting Jamal Carter, her ride or die since their days in a Nigerian orphanage. "Harper's deal is tomorrow. You ready to crash their party?" she typed. Jamal's reply was instant. "Born ready, Queen. Let's make 'em cry." She was so engrossed she didn't notice the guy in front of her turn abruptly, a steaming latte in hand. They collided, and the coffee splashed across his crisp white shirt, soaking it in a brown stain that looked like a bad abstract painting. "Damn it!" the guy exclaimed, shaking his hand as coffee dripped onto his sneakers. He was tall, with warm brown skin and a fade haircut, dressed in a casual but pricey combo of jeans and a blazer. His eyes, though, were what caught Maya's attention. Sharp, playful, like he was already planning a comeback. Maya, unfazed, raised an eyebrow. "Oops, my bad," she said, her tone more amused than apologetic. "But that shirt looks better with a little personality now." The guy, Xavier Torres, though Maya didn't know it yet, stared at her, then broke into a grin. "Personality? Lady, you just ruined a $200 shirt. You got a plan to make this right?" $200? Maya snorted, crossing her arms. "Bro, you got scammed. That's a $20 Target special tops. I'll cover the dry cleaning, but don't expect me to cry over it." Xavier laughed, a deep, infectious sound that turned heads in the shop. "You're tough, huh? All right, how about this? Buy me a new latte and I'll call it even." Maya tilted her head, sizing him up. "Deal, but you're getting back in line. I'm not your barista." "Oh, she's got rules," Xavier said, still grinning. He stepped aside, gesturing for her to go first. "After you, coffee assassin." They bantered as they waited, trading jabs like old friends. Maya ordered her usual black coffee, while Xavier went for a complicated oat milk concoction that made her roll her eyes. "You're one of those guys, huh?" she teased. "Next, you'll be asking for a lavender infusion." "Hey, don't hate on my vibes," Xavier shot back. "What's your name anyway? I need to know who to sue for my shirt." "Maya," she said simply, handing him his latte. "And you?" "Xavier," he replied, scribbling his number on a napkin and sliding it across the counter. "Call me if you want to make up for the coffee crime. I'm generous like that." Maya pocketed the napkin, her lips twitching. "We'll see, latte boy." She walked out, the napkin burning a hole in her pocket. She had no idea she'd just spilled coffee on one of LA's youngest tech moguls, the self-made millionaire behind Next Gen Labs. And Xavier had no clue he'd just met the woman who'd turn his world upside down. Maya wasn't always the mastermind behind Aurora Group. Born in a dusty Nigerian village, she'd lost her parents young and ended up in an orphanage, where her knack for numbers and strategy caught the eye of a visiting American couple, the Harpers. They adopted her, brought her to LA, and promised her a fairy tale life. But fairy tales don't exist in mansions built on lies. The Harpers treated Maya like an outsider, their affection reserved for their biological daughter, Chloe. Maya's dark skin and foreign roots were a constant reminder she didn't belong, and Robert made it clear she'd never inherit the family empire. "You're lucky to be here," he'd say, his words cutting deeper than any knife. Chloe, spoiled and insecure, took every chance to remind Maya of her place. "You're just charity, Maya. Don't get too comfortable." But Maya was no victim. By 16, she was coding in secret, hacking into systems for fun, and dreaming of something bigger. That's when she met Jamal Carter, a fellow orphan who'd followed her to the States. Jamal, with his quick wit and tech genius, became her partner in crime. Together they built Aurora Group from a dorm room server, turning it into a global powerhouse that controlled markets, tech, and even governments, all while Maya played the role of the Harper's forgotten daughter. Why the janitor gig? It wasn't just a cover. Maya wanted to know the city's pulse, to walk among the workers who kept LA running. People like Sofia Delgado, a single mom and fellow cleaner who'd become her friend. Sofia, with her no-nonsense attitude and fierce loyalty, reminded Maya why she fought. Not just for herself, but for everyone the world overlooked. But not everyone in Maya's circle was loyal. Vincent Kane, her right-hand man at Aurora Group, had been with her since the early days, a former Wall Street shark she'd saved from ruin. Lately, though, his ambition had grown sharper, his loyalty shakier. And then there was Natasha Volkov, a Russian tycoon circling Aurora Group like a vulture, ready to pounce at the first sign of weakness. Maya knew the risks of revealing herself as Eclipse, but she was done hiding. The Harpers had underestimated her for too long, and Ethan's betrayal, dumping her for Chloe, had lit a fire she couldn't ignore. Tonight was just the beginning. As Maya left the Celestial Tower, the night air hit her like a shot of adrenaline. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. "You just broke the internet, Queen. Twitter's losing it. Ready for phase 2? She typed back, "Born ready. Let's make 'em sweat." Behind her, the ballroom was a war zone. Chloe was screaming at Robert, her mascara streaking. "How could you let this happen? She's a janitor." Robert, his face a mask of rage, barked at his team. "Find out everything about Aurora Group, now!" Ethan stood frozen, his mind replaying Maya's words. "I don't want your leftovers." For the first time, he wondered if he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. Maya stepped into the LA night, the city sprawling before her like a chessboard. She pulled Xavier's napkin from her pocket, her lips curving into a smile. "Latte boy," she murmured. "You might just be trouble." "Hey, you." "Yo, what a way to kick things off, right?" Maya just dropped the mic on the Harpers, and that coffee spill with Xavier? Pure gold. If you're hyped for this drama, and trust me, it's only getting hotter, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What do you think Xavier's gonna do when he finds out Maya's Eclipse? And how will the Harpers fight back? Don't miss the next part, because LA's about to burn. Let's keep this story rolling. The morning after Maya Jackson dropped her bombshell at the Celestial Tower, Los Angeles buzzed with gossip. Twitter was a war zone, with hashtags like #EclipseReveal and #HarperDown trending worldwide. Paparazzi swarmed the streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious janitor-turned-mogul. But Maya? She was back in East LA, sipping black coffee at Bean and Hustle, her janitor's uniform swapped for a simple tank top and jeans. The city might have been losing its mind, but Maya looked like she was just getting started. Her phone vibrated on the table, a string of texts from Jamal Carter, her tech genius best friend. "Yo, Queen, you broke the internet. TMZ's calling you the Cinderella of capitalism. Also, Chloe's meltdown is going viral. Want me to meme it?" Maya smirked, typing back, "Meme it. Make it savage." She leaned back, her dark eyes scanning the coffee shop. The place was quieter today, the morning rush replaced by a few stragglers nursing their lattes. The smell of roasted beans and fresh bagels hung in the air, and a lo-fi playlist hummed through the speakers. Maya loved spots like this. Gritty, real, the kind of place where LA's pulse beat loudest. It was why she'd chosen to work as a cleaner, to stay grounded among the people who kept the city running, like her friend Sofia Delgado, who was probably scrubbing floors downtown right now. But grounded didn't mean soft. Maya's reveal as Eclipse, the mastermind behind Aurora Group, had sent shockwaves through LA's elite. The Harpers were scrambling, and Ethan Brooks, her ex-fiancé, was probably regretting every life choice that led him to dump her for Chloe Harper. Maya wasn't here to gloat, though. She was planning her next move, and if the Harpers thought they could outplay her, they were in for a rude awakening. Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. "Well, well, if it ain't the coffee assassin herself." Maya looked up to see Xavier Torres standing by her table, a playful grin on his face. He was dressed down today, black t-shirt, jeans, and a leather jacket that screamed effortless cool. His brown eyes sparkled with mischief, and Maya couldn't help but smile back. The guy she doused with coffee yesterday was clearly not one to hold a grudge. "Latte boy," she said, leaning back in her chair. "You stalking me now? That's a bold move." Xavier laughed, pulling out a chair and sitting without asking. "Stalking? Nah, I just figured I'd give you a chance to apologize properly for ruining my shirt. Plus, this place makes the best cortados in LA. You gonna buy me one or what?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "You're still on about that shirt? Let it go, man. I'm not your personal dry cleaner." "Cold-blooded," Xavier said, clutching his chest like she'd stabbed him. "But I like it. You got a vibe, Maya. What's your deal? You don't strike me as the coffee shop regular type." Maya's smile didn't waver, but her mind raced. Xavier was sharp, and those eyes of his saw more than he let on. She wasn't ready to spill the tea about being Eclipse, not yet. "My deal?" she said, shrugging. "I clean floors, pay my bills, and occasionally wreck overpriced shirts. What's your deal, Mr. Fancy Jacket?" Xavier leaned forward, his grin widening. "Me? I'm just a guy who likes good coffee and better company. But I'm curious, Maya. You got a spark? You hiding something?" Maya held his gaze, her heart skipping a beat. The guy was flirting, and damn if he wasn't good at it. But she wasn't here to get distracted, no matter how charming he was. "Maybe," she said, her voice teasing. "But you'll have to work harder to find out." "Challenge accepted," Xavier said, standing up. "See you around, coffee assassin. Don't spill anything on me next time." As he walked away, Maya watched him go, the napkin with his number burning a hole in her pocket. She didn't know it yet, but Xavier Torres, the self-made tech mogul behind Next Gen Labs, was about to become a lot more than a random coffee shop encounter. Across town, in the sleek, glass-walled offices of Harper Enterprises, the mood was anything but playful. The boardroom was a pressure cooker, the air thick with tension and the faint scent of expensive cologne. Robert Harper sat at the head of the table, his silver hair disheveled, his face a mask of barely contained rage. Around him, executives fidgeted, their laptops open to news articles screaming about Maya's reveal. The headline on one screen read, "Janitor to Juggernaut, Who is Eclipse?" Chloe Harper paced the room, her red designer dress as fiery as her temper. "This is a disaster," she snapped, her voice echoing off the walls. "Maya's a fraud. She's playing us, and you're all just sitting here like idiots." Ethan Brooks, slouched in a chair, looked like he'd aged a decade overnight. His usually perfect hair was mussed, and his eyes were bloodshot from a sleepless night. "She's not a fraud," he said quietly, his voice heavy. "You saw the governor. You saw the screen. Maya's Eclipse, and we're screwed." Chloe whirled on him, her heels clicking furiously. "Don't you dare defend her. You're the one who dumped her for me, Ethan. This is your mess, too." Robert slammed his fist on the table, silencing them both. "Enough," he roared. "I don't care who Maya thinks she is. She's a Harper, and I raised her. She doesn't get to humiliate this family and walk away." An executive cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, Aurora Group's influence is staggering. They've got ties to governments, tech giants, even the Pentagon. Going after Maya could what?" Robert cut him off, his eyes blazing. "Ruin us?" "She's already doing that. We need to hit back, and we need to hit hard." Chloe stopped pacing, a sly smile creeping across her face. I know someone who can help, she said. Vincent Kane. He's in Aurora Group's inner circle. If anyone knows Maya's weaknesses, it's him. Ethan frowned, unease prickling his spine. Vincent Kane? The Wall Street guy? He's a snake, Chloe. You sure about this? Chloe's smile turned venomous. Snakes eat rats, Ethan, and Maya's nothing but a rat in a fancy dress. I'll call him. The room fell silent as Chloe dialed her phone, her manicured nails tapping impatiently. When Vincent's voice came through, it was smooth, calculated, like a predator sizing up its prey. Chloe Harper, he said. To what do I owe the pleasure? We need to talk, Chloe said, her voice low. About Maya Jackson. Or should I say, Eclipse. Vincent chuckled, a sound that sent chills down Ethan's spine. Oh, I've been expecting this call. Meet me at my office tomorrow. Bring your checkbook and your father's blessing. As Chloe hung up, Robert nodded approvingly. Good. Whatever it takes, we bury her. Ethan said nothing, but his gut twisted. He'd known Maya for years, loved her once. She wasn't the type to bluff, and deep down, he feared they were poking a dragon they couldn't slay. That evening, the sun dipped low over Venice Beach, casting a golden glow across the sand and surf. The boardwalk was alive with music, laughter, and the salty tang of ocean air. A charity event for clean energy was in full swing, with food trucks, live bands, and a stage where local celebs and tech moguls mingled to raise funds. Maya had come to support Sofia Delgado, whose son's school was getting solar panels thanks to the event. But she wasn't expecting to run into Xavier Torres again. She spotted him on stage, mid-speech, his charisma lighting up the crowd. He was talking about Next Gen Labs, his company, and its mission to make renewable energy accessible. We're not just building tech, he said, his voice warm and commanding. We're building a future where everyone gets a seat at the table. Maya clapped along with the crowd, impressed despite herself. The guy had a way with words, and that easy charm of his was hard to resist. She was about to slip away when Xavier's eyes locked onto hers. Hold up, he said into the mic, grinning. Is that the coffee assassin I see down there? The crowd turned, and Maya froze, caught like a deer in headlights. Oh, hell no, she muttered, but Xavier was already waving her up. Come on, Maya. Get up here and redeem yourself for that latte disaster. The crowd cheered, egging her on, and Sophia, standing nearby, gave her a playful shove. Go, girl! Show him up! Maya sighed, climbing onto the stage with a mock scowl. You're gonna regret this, latte boy, she said, snatching the mic. The crowd laughed, and Xavier raised his hands in surrender. All right, he said. Let's settle this LA style. You sing one song, karaoke rules, and if you kill it, I'm buying you tacos from the best truck in town. Deal? Maya smirked, her competitive streak kicking in. Deal, but when I win, you're also admitting I'm the better coffee spiller. The crowd roared, and the DJ queued up Alicia Keys' If I Ain't Got You. Maya took a deep breath, then let her voice soar, rich and soulful, filling the night air. The crowd swayed, some pulling out their phones to record. Xavier watched, his grin fading into something softer, almost awestruck. When she hit the final note, the beach erupted in applause. Damn, girl, Xavier said, stepping closer as the crowd cheered. You didn't tell me you were a superstar. Maya handed him the mic, her eyes twinkling. You didn't ask? Now, about those tacos. Later, as the event wound down, Maya and Xavier strolled along the boardwalk, the ocean whispering beside them. The sky was a canvas of pinks and purples, and the air carried the scent of salt water and fried food. Xavier nudged her shoulder. You're full of surprises, Maya. What else you hiding? She glanced at him, her heart doing a little flip. The guy was trouble, no doubt, but the kind of trouble she didn't mind. Maybe I'm a secret karaoke champion, she teased. Or maybe I just like keeping you on your toes. He stopped walking, turning to face her. The sunset cast a warm glow across his face, and for a moment, the world felt smaller, quieter. You're doing a hell of a job, he said, his voice low. His hand brushed hers, sending a spark up her spine. I mean it, Maya. There's something about you. Maya's breath caught, but she played it cool, stepping back with a smile. Careful, Xavier. You're not ready for all this. She gestured to herself, laughing, but her heart was racing. He grinned, undeterred. Oh, I'm ready. Just say when. As they parted ways, Maya felt a warmth she hadn't expected. Xavier was different, real, in a city full of fakes. But with the Harpers plotting and Vincent Kane in the mix, she didn't have time for distractions. Not yet. Back at her tiny apartment in South L.A., Maya kicked off her sneakers and flopped onto the couch. The place was modest, mismatched furniture, a few plants, and a wall of photos showing her and Jamal as kids, grinning in the Nigerian sun. Her phone buzzed with a new text from Jamal. Vincent's meeting the Harpers tomorrow. Smells like trouble. You want me to dig? Maya typed back. Dig deep. If Vincent's turning snake, I want to know everything. She leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The Harpers were coming for her, and Vincent was a wild card. She'd saved him from bankruptcy years ago, given him a seat at Aurora Group's table. If he was betraying her now, it wasn't just business. It was personal. Her thoughts drifted to Xavier, to that moment on the boardwalk. She pulled out the napkin with his number, her fingers tracing the digits. Trouble, she murmured, smiling. But trouble could wait. Right now, she had a war to win. The Los Angeles Convention Center buzzed like a beehive on steroids, its sprawling halls packed with the who's who of global finance. Suited-up investors, tech bros in overpriced sneakers, and journalists with press badges swarmed the floor, their voices blending into a chaotic hum. The air smelled of coffee, ambition, and a hint of nervous sweat. Massive LED screens flashed stock tickers and corporate logos, and the keynote stage loomed like a battlefield, ready for the next big announcement. Maya Jackson slipped through the crowd, blending in like a ghost. She wore a simple gray blazer and skirt, her braided hair pulled into a low bun, a clipboard in hand to sell the assistant vibe. Nobody gave her a second glance, exactly how she wanted it. To the world, she was still the janitor who'd shocked L.A. at the Celestial Tower 3 days ago, claiming to be Eclipse, the mastermind behind Aurora Group. But today, she wasn't here to make headlines. She was here to bury a traitor. Her target, Vincent Kane, her former right-hand man at Aurora Group. Word on the street, courtesy of Jamal Carter's hacking skills, was that Vincent had cozied up to the Harpers, feeding them dirt to take her down. Maya's lips twitched into a grim smile as she adjusted her earpiece. Jamal, she whispered. You in position? Her best friend's voice crackled through. Locked and loaded, Queen. I've got eyes on Vincent's laptop. Dude's about to get a reality check. You ready to roast him? Born ready, Maya said, her eyes scanning the stage where Vincent was set to speak. Hit me with the deets. Jamal's chuckle was pure mischief. He's pitching his new venture, Kane Capital, to a room full of sharks. Thinks he's gonna outshine Aurora Group. Oh, and he's got a spicy PowerPoint calling you a fraud. Want me to crash it? Maya's smile turned wicked. Not yet. Let him dig his own grave first. She took a seat near the back, her clipboard propped on her knee, blending into the sea of suits. The lights dimmed, and Vincent strode onto the stage, all swagger and polished charm. His dark suit screamed money, and his slicked-back hair gave him the vibe of a Wall Street villain. The crowd clapped politely, but Maya could feel their hunger, investors sniffing for the next big score. Ladies and gentlemen, Vincent began, his voice smooth as bourbon. Today marks a new era in finance. Kane Capital is here to disrupt the game, to challenge the bloated empires like Aurora Group and their so-called leader, Eclipse. The crowd murmured, and Maya's jaw tightened. Vincent clicked his remote, and the screen behind him lit up with a photo of her in her janitor's uniform, pushing a cart. Laughter rippled through the room, sharp and cruel. "This," Vincent said, pointing at the image, "is the woman who claims to run Aurora Group, a janitor, a fraud, and I'm here to expose her." Maya's fingers curled around her clipboard, but she kept her face neutral. "Keep talking, Vince," she thought. "You're making this too easy." Vincent's presentation rolled on, a slick mix of charts, buzzwords, and shade thrown at Aurora Group. "Eclipse is a myth," he declared. "Aurora's success is built on lies, and I have proof. In 48 hours, Kane Capital will release documents showing their financials are a house of cards. Invest with me and we'll topple them together." The crowd leaned forward, hooked. Vincent was selling betrayal like it was the hottest stock on the market, and they were buying. Maya tapped her earpiece. "Jamal, you got the package ready?" "Oh, it's wrapped with a bow," Jamal replied. "Say the word, and I'll light this fool up." Maya waited, letting Vincent bask in his moment. He was mid-sentence, hyping his revolutionary fund when she stood, her voice cutting through the room like a knife. "Hey, Vince, you taking bets on that 48-hour deadline? 'Cause I'm calling your bluff." Heads turned, and a hush fell over the crowd. Vincent froze, his eyes narrowing as he spotted Maya. "You," he spat, his composure slipping. "What are you doing here?" Maya walked toward the stage, her steps deliberate, her clipboard abandoned. "Just fact-checking," she said, her tone light but laced with steel. "You're throwing a lot of shade for someone who owes me his career. Care to explain why you're biting the hand that fed you?" The crowd buzzed, phones out, recording every second. Vincent's smile was tight, his knuckles white around the remote. "You're delusional, Maya. You're a janitor playing dress-up. Aurora Group will collapse, and I'll be the one standing." Maya reached the stage, standing just feet from him. "Want to bet?" she said, her voice low, dangerous. "How about 24 hours? I say Kane Capital's toast by tomorrow morning. You in?" Vincent laughed, but it was forced, nervous. "You're embarrassing yourself. Get her out of here." Security guards started toward her, but Maya raised a hand, her eyes never leaving Vincent. "Jamal," she said, loud enough for the mic to catch. "Drop it." The screen behind Vincent flickered, and his presentation vanished. In its place, a new slideshow loaded, Jamal's handiwork. The first slide showed bank records, emails, and contracts, all linking Vincent to shady offshore accounts and backroom deals with the Harpers. The crowd gasped, and Vincent's face drained of color. "What the hell is this?" he shouted, fumbling with the remote. But the slides kept coming, each one a nail in his coffin. Proof he'd siphoned funds from Aurora Group, sold trade secrets, and now teamed up with Robert Harper to sabotage Maya. Maya crossed her arms, her smile icy. "Looks like you've been busy, Vince. Stealing from me, lying to these fine folks, and throwing in with the Harpers. That's a bold flex for a guy who was begging me for a job 5 years ago." The crowd was in chaos now, investors shouting questions, journalists scrambling for quotes. Vincent lunged for the stage controls, but it was too late. The final slide flashed. A live feed of Kane Capital's stock plummeting, tanked by a coordinated sell-off Maya had orchestrated through Aurora Group's network. In minutes, his empire was crumbling. "You're done, Vincent," Maya said, her voice carrying over the din. "Next time you come for me, bring a better game." She turned to leave, but Vincent grabbed her arm, his face twisted with rage. "You think you've won?" he hissed. I've got something you'll never see coming. Maya yanked her arm free, her eyes blazing. Try me, she said, then walked off the stage, leaving Vincent to face the mob of angry investors. As Maya exited the convention center, the LA sun hit her like a spotlight, hot and unrelenting. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. You just yeeted Vincent into oblivion. Stocks at zero. Also, check your email. Found something juicy. She opened her email, and her heart stopped. Jamal had dug up a file from Vincent's laptop, a scanned letter from Robert Harper dated 10 years ago. It was addressed to a private investigator with instructions to suppress any evidence of Maya's potential. The letter detailed how Robert had discovered Maya's prodigy-level intellect as a teen, her ability to predict markets, code algorithms, even influence deals. But instead of nurturing her, he'd buried it, fearing she'd outshine Chloe and threaten the Harper legacy. Maya's hands trembled as she read. Robert hadn't just neglected her. He'd sabotaged her, all to prop up his real daughter. The betrayal cut deeper than she'd expected, a wound she thought she'd healed long ago. She leaned against a wall, the city's hum fading as memories flooded back. Robert's cold dismissals, Chloe's taunts, the years she'd spent proving herself to a family that never wanted her. Her phone buzzed again, snapping her out of it. Another text from Jamal. You good? Also, heads up, Vincent's not done. He's got a meeting with some Russian chick tonight. Smells like trouble. Maya took a deep breath, shoving the pain down. Noted, she typed back. Keep tabs on him. We're not done either. That night, Maya found herself at Griffith Park, staring out at the LA skyline from a quiet lookout. The city sparkled below, a glittering trap of dreams and deceit. She'd come here to clear her head, but her thoughts kept circling back to the letter and to Xavier Torres. Their moment on Venice Beach had lingered. His touch, his words, the way he looked at her like she was more than a mystery to solve. But Xavier was a complication, and Maya didn't have room for those. Not now, not when the Harpers and Vincent were gunning for her. As if on cue, she heard footsteps behind her. Knew I'd find you here, Xavier said, his voice warm, teasing. He stepped into view, hands in his pockets, his leather jacket catching the moonlight. You're not an easy woman to track down, coffee assassin. Maya's lips twitched, but her guard was up. What's this, round 3? You still mad about that shirt? Nah, Xavier said, sitting on the bench beside her. I'm over it. But I saw you on the news today, Maya. That convention center stunt. You were straight fire. Care to spill the tea? 'Cause I'm starting to think you're not just a janitor with a killer karaoke game. Maya's heart skipped. He'd seen her confront Vincent, which meant he was piecing things together. She couldn't tell him she was eclipse. Not yet. Just settling a score, she said, keeping her tone light. Some people need a reality check. Xavier studied her, his eyes searching. You're dodging, and I get it. But I'm not dumb, Maya. You're playing a big game, and I don't like being left in the dark. Who are you, really? The question hung between them, heavy with unspoken stakes. Maya wanted to trust him, to let him in, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not after Ethan, not after Robert's betrayal. You want the truth? She said, her voice softer now. I'm just trying to survive in a city that loves to chew people up. That's all you need to know for now. Xavier's jaw tightened, frustration flickering across his face. Survive? Maya, you're out here shutting down millionaires like it's a Tuesday. I'm not asking for your life story, but don't treat me like I'm just some guy you met at a coffee shop. You are some guy I met at a coffee shop, Maya shot back, but there was no heat in it. She stood, brushing past him. I've got enough on my plate, Xavier. If you can't handle a little mystery, maybe you should stick to your cortados. He grabbed her wrist, gentle but firm, pulling her back. I can handle it, he said, his voice low, intense. But I don't like games, Maya. If you're in trouble, I want to help. Just say the word." For a moment they stood there, inches apart, the city's hum fading into the background. Maya's pulse raced, her resolve wavering. She could feel the warmth of his hand, the sincerity in his eyes. But the letter from Robert was still burning in her mind, a reminder that trust came with a price. She pulled away, her smile bittersweet. "You're sweet, Xavier, but I don't need a hero. Not yet." As she walked away, Xavier called after her. "I'm not giving up, coffee assassin. You'll see." Maya didn't look back, but her heart was heavier than she'd admit. She had a war to fight, and Xavier was a distraction she couldn't afford. Or so she told herself. Back at her South LA apartment, Maya sat cross-legged on her couch, a laptop open to Jamal's latest intel. The Russian contact Vincent was meeting was Natasha Volkov, a tycoon with a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. If Vincent was desperate enough to team up with her, things were about to get ugly. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sofia Delgado. "Saw you on the news, chica. You're a badass. Drink soon?" Maya smiled, typing back. "You know it. Bring your son. I owe him ice cream." She leaned back, the weight of the day settling in. Vincent was down but not out, and Natasha was a new player in the game. The Harpers were circling, and Xavier was a wild card, one she wasn't sure she could resist. Her eyes drifted to the napkin with his number, still tucked in her pocket. "Trouble," she murmured. But this time, there was a spark of hope in her voice. Maybe, just maybe, trouble was exactly what she needed. Los Angeles shimmered under a haze of late-afternoon heat, the kind that made the asphalt ripple and tempers flare. Downtown skyline loomed like a fortress of glass and steel, but beneath the surface the city was a powder keg, and Maya Jackson was holding the match. After dismantling Vincent Kane's empire at the LA Convention Center, she'd expected a counterattack, but the speed and venom of it caught even her off guard. The Harpers weren't just fighting for their legacy, they were out for blood. In a penthouse perched high above Beverly Hills, Vincent Kane stood before a floor-to-ceiling window, his reflection a ghostly smear against the Hollywood hills. His tailored suit hung looser now, his face haggard from days of damage control. Kane Capital was a smoking ruin, its stock worthless, its investors fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. But Vincent wasn't done, not by a long shot. Across from him sat Natasha Volkov, a Russian tycoon whose icy beauty masked a predator's heart. Her red wine dress clung to her like a second skin, and she sipped vodka from a crystal glass, her green eyes glinting with calculation. The penthouse was a shrine to excess. Marble floors, gold accents, and a view that screamed power. But the air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes a storm. "You promised me Aurora Group," Natasha said, her accent sharp as a blade. "Instead, I get headlines about a janitor humiliating you. Explain yourself, Vincent, before I lose patience." Vincent's jaw clenched, but he kept his tone even. "Maya's not a janitor. She's Eclipse, and she's smarter than I gave her credit for. But she's not untouchable. I know her moves, her weaknesses. We can still take her down." Natasha arched a brow, unimpressed. "Weaknesses? The woman just burned your empire to the ground in front of the world. If you're this incompetent, why should I trust you?" "Because I have something she doesn't," Vincent said, leaning forward. "Leverage. The Harpers are desperate, and they've got dirt. Personal dirt. Maya's got enemies in high places, and I've got the connections to weaponize them." Natasha set her glass down, the clink echoing in the silence. "Go on." Vincent's smile was thin, predatory. "We hit her where it hurts. Her reputation. I've got media contacts ready to spin a story. Maya Jackson, alias Eclipse, is a foreign operative manipulating U.S. markets. Add some forged documents, a few leaks to the feds, and Aurora Group's under investigation by tomorrow. She'll be too busy dodging subpoenas to fight back. And the Harpers? Natasha asked, crossing her legs. They're on board, Vincent said. Chloe's practically foaming at the mouth to bury her sister. Robert's signing the checks. And Ethan... He paused, smirking. Ethan's starting to crack. He's got a soft spot for Maya, but he's too weak to act on it. Natasha considered this, her fingers drumming on the armrest. And this... Xavier Torres? She said, her voice dripping with disdain. The tech boy sniffing around her. Is he a problem? Vincent's smirk faded. Torres is a wild card. He's clean, self-made, and his company, Next Gen Labs, is untouchable. If he's falling for Maya, he could be a liability. We need to drive a wedge between them. Natasha's lips curved into a cruel smile. I'll handle Torres. A few whispers in the right ears say that he's using Maya to get to Aurora Group, and he'll run. Men like him hate being played. Vincent nodded, but unease gnawed at him. Natasha was a viper, and he wasn't sure who she'd bite first. Deal, he said. But we need to move fast. Maya's not the type to sit still. Natasha raised her glass, her eyes cold. To the fall of eclipse, she said. Vincent clinked his glass against hers, but his gut twisted. He'd underestimated Maya once. He wouldn't make that mistake again. Or so he hoped. By noon the next day, L.A. was ablaze with gossip. Tabloids and X-posts screamed headlines like, "Is Eclipse a spy?" and "Aurora Group under fire." Forged documents, leaked by Vincent's contacts, painted Maya as a shadowy operative with ties to foreign governments. The feds were sniffing around, and Aurora Group's stock took a hit, though Maya's team was already countering with their own financial wizardry. Maya sat in her South LA apartment, her laptop open to a dozen news feeds. The tiny space felt smaller today, the walls closing in as she scrolled through the lies. Jamal Carter sprawled on her couch, munching on a bag of hot Cheetos, his laptop glowing with hacked data. "These clowns are desperate," he said, licking orange dust off his fingers. "Natasha Volkov's behind the leaks. She's got a network of bots pushing this spy nonsense. Want me to fry her servers?" Maya's eyes didn't leave the screen. "Not yet," she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Let them think they're winning. I want to see how far they'll go." Jamal raised an eyebrow. "You're scary when you get like this, you know that?" "What's the play?" Maya closed her laptop, leaning back. "We flip the script. Natasha's playing dirty, so we dig dirtier. Find me something on her. Bank accounts, deals, anything we can use. And keep an eye on Vincent. He's not smart enough to pull this off alone." "On it," Jamal said, cracking his knuckles. "Oh, and speaking of clowns, Chloe's got a press conference tonight. She's going to expose you live on CNN. You watching?" Maya's lips twitched. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." Her phone buzzed and she glanced at the screen, a text from Sofia Delgado. "Chica, you okay? News is wild. Need me to bring tacos and wine?" Maya smiled, typing back, "I'm good, Soph. Save the tacos for when we celebrate. Talk soon." But her smile faded as another text popped up, this one from Xavier Torres. "Saw the news. We need to talk. You free tonight?" Maya's stomach flipped. Xavier had been on her mind too much lately. His grin, his touch, the way he saw through her walls. But the rumors about her were spreading, and she knew Vincent and the Hoppers would target him next. She couldn't let him get caught in the crossfire. Not yet. She typed back, "Busy tonight? Rain check?" His reply was instant. "I'm not scared off that easy, coffee assassin. Call me when you're ready." Maya stared at the message, her heart aching. Xavier was trouble, but the kind she wanted to keep close. Too bad her enemies had other plans. That evening, as a thunderstorm rolled over L.A., Maya stood in the elevator of a sleek downtown tower, her reflection staring back from the mirrored walls. She'd agreed to meet Xavier at his penthouse to clear the air about the rumors, but her nerves were on edge. The city was a pressure cooker, and she was walking into a situation she couldn't fully control. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened to Xavier's penthouse, a sprawling oasis of modern luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the rain-soaked skyline, neon lights bleeding through the storm. The space was minimalist but warm, dark wood, leather furniture, and a faint scent of cedar and bourbon. Xavier stood by the window, a glass of whiskey in hand, his black t-shirt and jeans a stark contrast to the opulence around him. "Maya," he said, turning to face her. His voice was low, guarded, but his eyes burned with intensity. "You made it." She stepped inside, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Her denim jacket was damp from the rain, and her hair clung to her neck, but she carried herself with the same confidence that had shaken the celestial tower. "Didn't have much choice," she said, tossing her jacket onto a chair. "You sounded like you weren't taking no for an answer." Xavier set his glass down, crossing the room in a few strides. "I'm not," he said, stopping just close enough for her to feel the heat radiating off him. "The news is saying you're some kind of spy, Maya. X is blowing up with conspiracies. And then there's this." He pulled out his phone, showing a headline. "Is Xavier Torres using Eclipse for Next Gen's gain?" Maya's stomach dropped. Natasha's handiwork, no doubt. "You believe that?" she asked, her voice steady but her eyes searching his. Xavier ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched into his features. "I don't know what to believe. You're dodging me, Maya. One minute you're a janitor, the next you're shutting down millionaires at conventions. Now the world's calling you a traitor, and I'm caught in the middle. I need the truth. Who are you?" The question hit like a punch, and for a moment, Maya faltered. She wanted to tell him about Eclipse, Aurora Group, the Harper's betrayal, but the words stuck in her throat. Trust was a gamble, and she'd lost too many bets before. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice soft but fierce. "You think I'm playing you? You think I'd let some tabloid trash define me?" Her eyes locked onto his, challenging, daring. "If you're looking for a pawn, Xavier, you're barking up the wrong tree." Xavier's breath hitched, and the air between them crackled with tension. "I'm not looking for a pawn," he said, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. "I'm looking at a queen, and it's driving me crazy that you won't let me in." The words hung there, raw and unguarded. Maya's heart pounded, her resolve crumbling under the weight of his gaze. The storm outside roared, rain lashing the windows, and the penthouse felt like the only place in the world. She took a step closer, close enough to feel his breath, to see the flecks of gold in his eyes. "Then stop asking who I am," she murmured, her voice barely audible, "and show me who you are." Xavier didn't hesitate. His hands found her waist, pulling her against him, and their lips crashed together in a kiss that was all fire and hunger. The world fell away. Vincent, Natasha, the Harpers, the lies, leaving only the heat of his touch, the press of his body against hers. Maya's fingers tangled in his hair, her nails grazing his scalp as she deepened the kiss, a low moan escaping her throat. His hands slid up her back, tracing the curve of her spine, and she arched into him, the damp fabric of her shirt clinging to her skin. The storm's thunder echoed their rhythm, a primal beat that matched the urgency in their movements. Xavier's lips trailed to her jaw, then her neck, his breath hot against her skin. "Maya," he whispered, his voice rough with need. "You're gonna be the death of me." She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, her smile wicked, commanding. "Good," she said, her fingers brushing his chest, feeling the rapid thud of his heart. "But I'm not done with you yet." She kissed him again, slower this time, teasing, her hands slipping under his shirt to trace the hard lines of his muscles. But just as the heat threatened to consume them, she stepped back, leaving him breathless, his eyes dark with want. "Don't play games with me, Xavier," she said, her voice a mix of challenge and promise. "If you're in, you're all in, but I call the shots." Xavier let out a shaky laugh, running a hand over his face. "Damn, woman. You're gonna kill me, but I'm in. All the way." Maya grabbed her jacket, her heart still racing as she headed for the door. "Good," she said over her shoulder. "Now let's see if you can keep up." As the elevator doors closed behind her, she leaned against the wall, her breath uneven. Xavier was more than trouble. He was a wildfire and she was playing with matches. But the kiss, the heat, had lit something in her, a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. Across town, at a glitzy studio in Hollywood, Chloe Harper stood under blinding lights, her makeup flawless, but her smile brittle. The CNN cameras rolled, and a crowd of reporters hung on her every word. "Maya Jackson is a fraud," Chloe declared, her voice dripping with venom. "She's manipulated my family, stolen our legacy, and now she's dragging innocent people like Xavier Torres into her lies. I'm here to set the record straight." The reporters fired questions, but Chloe's answers were rehearsed, her accusations flimsy. Maya, watching from her apartment, laughed softly. "Nice try, sis," she muttered, texting Jamal. "Chloe's bombing. Time to hit back?" Jamal's reply was instant. "Got a present for you. Check X." Maya opened the app and grinned. Jamal had leaked a clip from Chloe's press conference, but with a twist. A montage of her contradictions, edited with cartoon sound effects and captions like "Chloe Harper, Oscar for drama." It was going viral, and the comments were brutal. "This chick's delusional. Eclipse owns her." But Maya's grin faded as a new text from Jamal popped up. "Natasha's meeting Vincent tonight at a club in Hollywood. They're planning something big. You want in?" Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Natasha was a new level of danger, and Xavier was now a target. The game was getting deadlier, and she needed to move fast. She typed back, "I'm in. Let's crash their party." The storm outside had calmed, but inside Maya, a new one was brewing. The Harpers, Vincent, Natasha, they thought they could break her. They were about to learn what happens when you corner a queen. Los Angeles sprawled under a bruised purple sky, the kind that promised trouble. The city's pulse thrummed through its neon veins. Hollywood's glitz, downtown's hustle, and the gritty edges of the suburbs where dreams went to die. Maya Jackson was no stranger to trouble, but tonight it was hunting her. She crouched in the shadows of a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of LA, her breath steady despite the adrenaline spiking her veins. The air was heavy with the stench of oil and rust, and the distant hum of traffic was drowned out by the creak of metal beams overhead. Her black hoodie and jeans blended into the darkness, but her eyes, sharp, unyielding, scanned the scene like a hawk. Beside her, Jamal Carter fiddled with a tablet, his fingers flying across the screen as he hacked into the warehouse's security cams. "Tell me again why we're playing mission. Impossible in this dump," Jamal whispered, his voice a mix of nerves and excitement. "I could be home binging Stranger Things right now." Maya's lips twitched, but she didn't look away from the warehouse door. "Because Vincent and Natasha are cooking up something nasty," she said, "and I'm not waiting for them to serve it. You got eyes on them yet?" Jamal tapped the tablet, pulling up a grainy feed. "Bingo. They're inside, back room, with a couple of goons. Looks like a shady deal. Briefcases, hushed vibes, the works. Natasha's got that 'I'm gonna ruin someone's life' smirk. You want me to crash their party with some alarms?" "Not yet," Maya said, her voice low. "I want to hear what they're planning. Get me audio." Jamal grumbled, but complied. slipping a tiny drone from his backpack. The device whirred softly, zipping toward the warehouse like a mechanical firefly. Maya's earpiece crackled as the drone's mic picked up voices. Vincent Kane's smooth drawl came first. "The feds are closing in on Aurora Group. Those leaks you planted are gold, Natasha." Maya's drowning in red tape. Natasha Volkov's voice followed, cold and precise. "Good, but it's not enough. We need to cripple her inner circle. Torres is the weak link. Push more rumors. Say he's selling her out to Next Gen's board. She'll cut him loose, and we'll have her isolated." Maya's jaw tightened, her fingers curling into fists. They were targeting Xavier Torres, trying to poison the one connection she'd let herself care about. Vincent's next words made her blood run cold. "And if that doesn't work, we take her out. Permanently. I've got a guy who can make it look like an accident." Jamal's eyes widened. "Yo, they're not playing. We gotta bounce, Maya. This is above our pay grade." Maya's voice was steel. "No bouncing. We end this tonight. Get ready to—" Her words were cut off by a sudden crash. The warehouse door exploded inward, and armed men in tactical gear stormed in, their flashlights slicing through the dark. Maya and Jamal dove behind a stack of crates, her heart pounding. "Ambush!" she hissed, pulling a small stun gun from her pocket. "They knew we were coming!" Jamal's fingers flew over his tablet, his voice panicked. "I'm jamming their comms, but we're outnumbered. Maya, we're screwed." The goons fanned out, their boots thudding against the concrete. Maya's mind raced, calculating exits, but the odds weren't good. She was about to signal Jamal to run when a new sound cut through the chaos. Gunfire, precise and controlled. The goons dropped one by one, their shouts replaced by groans. Maya peeked over the crate, her eyes narrowing as a figure emerged from the shadows. Governor Alicia Reyes stepped into the dim light, her white pantsuit pristine despite the chaos. She held a sleek pistol, her posture calm, commanding. Two of her security detail flanked her, their weapons trained on the remaining goons, who threw down their guns in surrender. Maya stood, her stun gun still raised. "Governor," she said, her voice a mix of shock and suspicion. "What the hell are you doing here?" Alicia holstered her pistol, her smile wry. "Saving your ass, apparently. You're welcome, Eclipse." Jamal scrambled to his feet, his tablet clutched like a lifeline. "Hold up. Is this Wonder Woman? 'Cause I'm not complaining, but what's going on?" Alicia ignored him, her eyes locked on Maya. "We need to talk. Somewhere secure. Natasha's playing a bigger game than you realize, and you're not equipped to handle it alone." Maya's instincts screamed caution, but Alicia's presence at the Celestial Tower, and now here, suggested she wasn't an enemy. "You've got 5 minutes," Maya said, lowering her stun gun. "Start talking." 30 minutes later, Maya, Jamal, and Alicia sat in a nondescript safe house in Koreatown, its walls lined with monitors and encrypted servers. The air smelled of instant coffee and static, and the hum of a generator underscored their conversation. Alicia leaned against a desk, her arms crossed, while Maya stood, her hoodie zipped tight, her expression guarded. "I've been with Aurora Group since the beginning," Alicia said, her voice steady. "Not officially, but as a silent partner. Your algorithm saved California from a financial crash 3 years ago. I owed you then, and I owe you now." Maya's eyes narrowed. "You're saying you're one of us? Why stay in the shadows?" "Because power works best unseen," Alicia said. "I've been watching Natasha Volkov for months. She's not just a tycoon, she's a front for a Russian syndicate aiming to destabilize U.S. markets. Aurora Group's in their crosshairs because you're a threat to their control." Jamal, munching on a protein bar, raised a hand. Question. Why is a governor running around with a gun like she's in a John Wick movie?" Alicia's lips twitched. "Let's just say I've had an unconventional career. Point is, Maya, You need allies. Natasha's got the feds fooled, but I've got evidence. Bank transfers, encrypted comms, that proves she's the real spy. Use it and you can turn the tables. Maya studied her, weighing the risk. Alicia's story checked out, but trust was a tightrope, and Maya had fallen before. Still, the evidence was a game changer. Send me the files, she said finally. If they're legit, we move. If not, you'll wish you'd stayed out of my way. Alicia nodded, unfazed. Fair. Files are already in your secure server. Check them. Jamal's tablet pinged and he scanned the data, his eyes widening. Yo, this is the real deal. Offshore accounts, coded messages, even a hit list with your name on it, Maya. Natasha's playing dirty. Maya's mind raced. With this evidence, she could expose Natasha, clear her name, and cripple the Harpers' alliance with Vincent. But it meant going public, putting everything on the line, including her relationship with Xavier. Set up a press conference, she told Jamal. Tomorrow, Celestial Tower. We're ending this spy nonsense once and for all. Jamal grinned, already typing. You got it, Queen. Time to make 'em eat their lies. The next morning, Maya stood in her South LA apartment, staring out at the city through a cracked window. The sun was rising, painting the skyline in hues of gold and pink, but her mind was elsewhere. The files from Alicia were gold, but the rumors about Xavier still stung. Natasha's lies had driven a wedge between them, and last night's kiss in his penthouse, hot, reckless, undeniable, had only complicated things. Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at the screen, a text from Sofia Delgado. You're all over the news again, Chica. Stay safe. Me and my boy are rooting for you. Maya smiled, typing back. Thanks, Soph. Ice cream date soon, I promise. But her smile faded as a knock echoed through the apartment. She opened the door to find Xavier Torres, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His leather jacket was slung over one shoulder, and his eyes were heavy with regret. In his hands was a paper bag from a taco truck, the smell of carne asada wafting up. Peace offering, he said, holding up the bag. I owe you an apology, coffee assassin. Maya crossed her arms, her heart thudding. You've got 2 minutes. Make it good. Xavier stepped inside, setting the bag on her tiny kitchen counter. I messed up, he said, his voice raw. I saw the news, the rumors, and I let them get in my head. I thought you were playing me, Maya. But I was wrong. You're not a spy or a liar or whatever the hell they're saying. He paused, searching for the words. You're the realest person I've ever met, and I'm an idiot for doubting you. Maya's throat tightened, but she kept her expression neutral. You think tacos are going to fix this? You accused me of using you, Xavier. That's not something you just shrug off. I know, he said, stepping closer. And I'm not shrugging. I'm here, Maya, all in, like I said last night. I don't care if you're a janitor or Eclipse or the damn Queen of LA. I want you, secrets, drama, all of it. Just give me a chance to prove it. The sincerity in his voice cracked her defenses, and for the first time in days, Maya felt the weight of her loneliness lift. She stepped forward, closing the distance between them, and rested a hand on his chest. You're lucky you're cute, she said, her voice soft but teasing. And that you brought tacos. Xavier's grin was pure relief. So I'm forgiven? Not yet, she said, but her smile betrayed her. She pulled him into a hug, her cheek against his shoulder, and for a moment the world felt right. But you're on probation. Don't screw it up. He laughed, wrapping his arms around her. Deal. But for the record, you're the one who's trouble, coffee assassin. As they pulled apart, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. Press conference is set. Celestial Tower, 8 p.m. Also, Natasha's on the move. Stay sharp. Maya's smile faded, her game face sliding back into place. Time to work, she said, grabbing a taco. You sticking around for the show, Xavier? He nodded, his eyes steady. Wouldn't miss it. That night, the Celestial Tower was packed again, but this time it was Maya's stage. The ballroom was a sea of reporters, cameras, and curious elites, all buzzing with anticipation. Maya stood at a podium, her black blazer sharp, her presence commanding. Behind her, a screen displayed the Aurora Group logo, and Jamal sat in the wings, his laptop ready to unleash hell. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya began, her voice clear and unwavering. You've heard the rumors. Spy, fraud, traitor, take your pick. But tonight, I'm setting the record straight. I'm Maya Jackson, also known as Eclipse, and I built Aurora Group from nothing. And I'm not the one you should be investigating. The screen lit up with Alicia's evidence, bank transfers, emails, even a recorded call of Natasha ordering a hit on Maya. The crowd gasped and reporters scrambled to take notes. Natasha Volkov is the real threat, Maya said. She's a front for a syndicate trying to destabilize our markets, and she's been using Vincent Kane and the Harpers to do it. The room erupted and Maya let the chaos wash over her. Across town, Xavier watched the live feed on his phone, a proud smile spreading across his face. That's my girl, he murmured. But Natasha wasn't done. As Maya spoke, a new text from Jamal popped up. Natasha's at a club in Hollywood. She's planning a countermove. We gotta stop her. Maya's eyes flickered to the crowd, her resolve hardening. The war wasn't over, but she was ready for the final battle. The Griffith Observatory perched on the hills above Los Angeles like a crown, its white domes glowing under a sky bursting with stars. Tonight, it wasn't just a landmark. It was a stage for the wedding of the century. The sprawling lawn was transformed into a dreamscape. White orchids cascading from arches, fairy lights twinkling like fireflies, and a string quartet playing softly, their notes weaving through the warm night air. The scent of jasmine and champagne hung heavy, and the city's skyline glittered below, a testament to the power gathered here. Maya Jackson stood at the heart of it all, radiant in a flowing silk gown that shimmered like moonlight on water. Her dark skin glowed under the soft lighting, and her braided hair was adorned with delicate silver pins, each one catching the starlight. She was no longer just the janitor, the orphan, or even Eclipse. She was a queen, and tonight she was claiming her happily ever after with Xavier Torres. The guest list was a who's who of global influence, tech moguls, world leaders, even the Empress of Japan, who'd flown in to honor the woman who'd stabilized Asia's markets. Governor Alicia Reyes stood near the front, her white suit crisp, a knowing smile on her face. Sofia Delgado, radiant in a teal dress, clutched her son's hand, her eyes misty with pride for her friend. And Jamal Carter, in a tailored tux that made him look like a movie star, was already charming a group of guests with his quick wit. But not everyone was here to celebrate. In a roped-off corner, Robert Harper, Chloe Harper, and Ethan Brooks sat under guard, their faces a mix of rage and resignation. Maya had invited them, not out of kindness, but to make them witness her triumph. Their empire, Harper Enterprises, was teetering on collapse, bled dry by Maya's financial maneuvers and the fallout from their alliance with Vincent Kane and Natasha Volkov. Xavier stood beside Maya, his black tuxedo accentuating his broad shoulders and warm brown eyes. He leaned in, his voice a soft murmur against her ear. You look like you're about to conquer the world, coffee assassin. Maya's lips curved, her eyes sparkling. Already did, she said, squeezing his hand. This is just the victory lap. The officiant, a silver-haired woman with a serene smile, began the ceremony, her words weaving a tapestry of love and resilience. We gather to celebrate not just a union, she said, but a testament to strength, to rising above, to choosing light in the face of darkness. As vows were exchanged, Maya's voice was steady, powerful, Xavier, you saw me when I was invisible, believed in me when I doubted myself. I promised to fight for us, to build with you, to love you through every storm. Xavier's eyes glistened, his grin both tender and fierce. Maya, you're my wildfire, my home. I promise to keep up, to hold you close, and to never let you face the world alone. The crowd sighed, some dabbing at tears, but the moment was shattered by a sudden commotion. A group of masked figures burst onto the lawn, their silenced weapons glinting in the starlight. Guests screamed, diving for cover, and Jamal yanked Sophia and her son behind a table. "Not today, Satan," he shouted, already pulling a stun gun from his jacket. Maya's instincts kicked in, her gown no barrier to the warrior beneath. She grabbed Xavier's arm, pulling him behind an orchid arch. "Natasha," she hissed, her eyes scanning the chaos. "This is her last play." Xavier's jaw tightened, his hand reaching for a concealed knife in his tux. "She's got balls. I'll give her that. You got a plan? Or we winging it?" Maya's smile was pure steel. "Always got a plan. Stay low." Across the lawn, Alicia Reyes was already in motion, her security team engaging the intruders with lethal precision. But the real threat emerged from the shadows. Natasha Volkov, her red dress a slash of blood against the night. She held a sleek pistol, her green eyes locked on Maya. "You thought you'd won, Eclipse?" she called, her voice cutting through the gunfire. "This city belongs to me." Maya stepped out, fearless, her gown billowing like a battle flag. "You're late to the party, Natasha," she said, her voice carrying over the chaos. "And you brought the wrong vibe." Natasha's laugh was cold, cruel. "Bold words for a dead woman. Your empire, your love, your legacy, it all ends tonight." Before Natasha could fire, Jamal's drone swooped in, blasting a high-pitched screech that made her flinch. "Eat that, Red!" Jamal yelled, diving back into cover. The distraction gave Maya the opening she needed. She sprinted forward, tackling Natasha to the ground, her gown tearing as she wrestled the gun away. The crowd watched, stunned, as Maya pinned Natasha, her knee pressing into the tycoon's back. "Game over," Maya said, her voice low, deadly. "You underestimated me, just like the rest." Alicia's team swarmed in, cuffing Natasha and her remaining goons. The guests, recovering from their shock, burst into applause, some cheering Maya's name. Xavier ran to her side, pulling her into a fierce embrace. "You're insane," he said, his voice thick with relief. "And I love it." Maya laughed, brushing dirt from her gown. "Told you I call the shots." As Natasha was dragged away, her eyes burned with defiance. "This isn't over," she spat. "You'll never be safe." Maya met her gaze, unflinching. "Keep dreaming, Volkov. I'm untouchable." With the threat neutralized, the wedding resumed, but Maya had one last score to settle. She walked to the corner where the Harpers and Ethan sat, their faces pale, their power stripped bare. Robert's eyes were hollow, Chloe's mascara streaked, and Ethan looked like a man who'd lost everything. Maya stood before them, her presence towering. "You tried to break me," she said, her voice calm but cutting. "You lied, betrayed, and sold your souls to destroy me. But I'm still here, stronger than ever. And you?" She gestured to the guards. "You're done in this city." Chloe lunged forward, her voice shrill. "You can't do this! You're nothing without us!" Maya's smile was ice. "I was always something, Chloe. You just couldn't see it." She turned to Ethan, who met her gaze with quiet regret. "I'm sorry, Maya," he said, his voice barely audible. "I was wrong." Maya studied him, her heart softening just a fraction. "I know," she said, but sorry doesn't fix what you broke. Goodbye, Ethan. She signaled the guards, who escorted the Harpers and Ethan out, their protests fading into the night. The crowd watched in silence, a collective acknowledgement of Maya's victory, not just over her enemies, but over a world that had tried to keep her small. The ceremony concluded with a kiss that set the crowd roaring. Maya and Xavier locked in an embrace that felt like a promise kept. The reception was a riot of joy, guests dancing under the stars, champagne flowing, and Jamal DJing a mix of hip-hop and Afrobeat that had even the Empress tapping her foot. Maya took the mic, her voice ringing clear. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her eyes sweeping the crowd. "I was a kid from nothing, a girl told she'd never belong. But I learned something. Your value isn't what others see. It's what you build, who you lift up, and how you rise. So here's to rising, to fighting, to shining brighter than the stars." The crowd erupted, and Sophia rushed forward, hugging Maya tight. "You did it, Chica," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud." Maya hugged her back, then handed her an envelope. "For you and your son," she said. "It's a trust fund, tied to a new Aurora Group initiative for working families. Your family, Soph." Sophia's jaw dropped, and she pulled Maya into another hug, her son giggling beside them. "You're too much," she said, laughing through tears. As the night wound down, a final surprise stole the show. Jamal grabbed the mic, his tux slightly askew, and turned to Sophia. "Yo, Soph, I ain't Eclipse, but I got something to say. You're the realest, and I'm kinda in love with you. So, you wanna grab coffee sometime? Like forever?" The crowd burst into laughter and cheers, and Sophia, blushing, nodded. "You're crazy, Jamal, but yeah, I'm in." Maya and Xavier clapped, their laughter mingling with the crowd's. "He's got game," Xavier said, pulling Maya close. "Learned from the best," Maya teased, kissing his cheek. Days later, Los Angeles woke to a new dawn. Maya and Xavier, now husband and wife, stood on the balcony of their new home in the hills, the city sprawling below. Aurora Group was stronger than ever, its influence cemented by Maya's victory over Natasha, who was now facing federal charges. The Harpers were exiled, their empire sold off in pieces, and Vincent Kane was a fugitive, last seen fleeing to parts unknown. Xavier launched a scholarship fund inspired by Maya, aimed at kids from tough backgrounds like theirs. "For the next eclipse," he said, his arm around her, "or the next coffee assassin." Maya laughed, her heart full. She still checked in with Sophia, who was thriving with her son and a budding romance with Jamal. The city had changed, its power dynamic shifted by a woman who'd refused to stay invisible. As they watched the sunrise, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Jamal. "You made history, Queen. What's next?" She typed back, "Whatever I want, and I'm just getting started." "Hey, you." Wow, what a ride. Maya and Xavier tied the knot, Natasha got wrecked, and Jamal's proposal, iconic. If you loved this epic finale, and cried, laughed, or cheered along the way, smash that subscribe button, share this story with your crew, and drop a comment. What's your favorite moment? What did Maya's journey teach you? Stay tuned for more stories that light up the night, 'cause we're just warming up. Let's keep the vibes high.